Welcome to the most overrated, underappreciated, most viewed, underviewed podcast of all time. Well, the Prince of Fresh Entertainment. It's a crazy week, busy time for both of us, both for me and my guests. But I gotta say something before I bring them on. It's come to my attention that Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa has been emailing me. Jason Momoa asked me, "Hey, I'm looking for a replacement of Aquaman. Can I have you do it?" And I told him I'd think about it. But then he said, "Hey, Percy, this has been bothering me for the last 2 years. How do you stay looking so good?" And truth be told, I ask myself every day when I look in the mirror. But anyway, nonetheless, let me stop bragging. I'm looking forward to having my next guest on. He was actually on a podcast, I think, the first year I started it. So it's new and approved. He's going to get the charismatic experience this time. And he's a busy guy. He just got off from the picking line for the strike, which we'll talk about in a moment. But he's a working actor, father, family man. You can also see him on a much popular TV show, Power Book 2 Ghost, as Robert Weston. And he's also an actor, producer, writer for The Incoherence, where I met him on. Amazing film that's out, available streaming, so you can watch that anytime you want. And I'm looking forward to this conversation. So please, without further ado, please welcome the man, the myth, the legend, James Weston himself, Jeffery. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Like Jeff I said, living American man. Broke dream. Exactly.
Like every other actor.
Exactly. The broke, struggling actor, right? How's everything? I know, like I said, you've been on a picket line, standing up for the strike and everything. How's that going? I see a lot of celebrities out there too.
Yeah, that's been very important, because if those guys don't get behind this, it's not going to have the influence and the power that it would without them. Because right. They're obviously fine financially, and the rest of us are struggling to make a living. So we need those names out there, and they've been out there in force. I went to the rally in Times Square a couple of weeks ago. Bryan Cranston was there, Michael Shannon, Wendell Pierce, Jessica Chastain, Christine Baranski, a bunch of other people. A few were escaping me, but it was just great to see the solidarity. And I think one of the biggest things that's happening is that since the pandemic, we really haven't spent any time together as actors. We never see each other at auditions or anything right. like that. So I think it's brought back the sense of community to the acting world. It has not been nearly as fun since COVID hit. Every audition is at home, and then there's some advantages to that, but it's lonely. It's lonely. You're self-taping. I self-tape in my son's room, the room I'm in right now. I have a closet for voiceover stuff, but it's boring. It's just you're alone by yourself, auditioning, talking to your friend on an iPad, and it's the whole thing's been turned upside down. So I think the strike has brought some solidarity and some community back to the acting world. But as you can see, the veil's been lifted, and everybody knows that. Most of us working actors, we don't make that much money. Right. It's a $134 billion business, and this members of SAG AFTRA make, I've read, $2 billion of that. So that's less than 2% of what the gross is of the business. And the fact that a lot of these CEOs and the guys up top are making tens of millions of dollars a year, while the people that create the content are making very little. I saw somewhere else that the average writer makes $68,000 a year. If you're live in New York or LA, you're barely getting by. If you're just living on showbiz money, that's a very small salary to live in those two places or the surrounding areas to make a living. So I've been encouraged. It's going to be a while, but I've been encouraged that we're all standing strong.
Oh, that's beautifully said. And truth be told, I've had this conversation with many other actors. The importance of the strike. A lot of people, before I get into that, because I don't want to jump right into it too early. I want to talk about you for a second, because I had you on. This would have been 2-3 years ago. So a lot has changed.
It was during the pandemic for sure.
Yeah. So during the pandemic, we're kind of out of the pandemic now, but now we're in the strike. But like I said, you've been playing Robert Weston on Power Book 2, very popular TV show. You've done many other TV shows as well. How how has that journey been for you? You know, navigating during the pandemic to now, being able to be on a popular TV show like that. Like, how has that experience been for you?
Well, it's been a lifesaver on a variety of levels. You know, I'm not just saying this because I'm on the show, but it's a wonderful, wonderful place to work. That's my favorite thing about it. The people behind and in front of the camera are just great. The vibe is awesome. You know, I shot this scene for the end of season 2, a courtroom scene, and Method Man was there. And there was a lot of background actors there because it was a courtroom scene, you know, so we had to fill up the room. And he was just going crazy on them, complimenting them. You give me so much. I'm paraphrasing here, but, you know, you give me so much. I see you, the energy you're bringing me. I'm feeding the energy back. And it was just like, this is a guy who's been a pop culture icon for 30 years. And he didn't have to do that. And he was in there completely complimenting and encouraging the background actors just from what they were given. It was just wonderful to see. The vibe in that show behind the scenes is always great. And I had no clue how popular it was because all of a sudden people stopped me on the street. Hey, are you there? I'm like, yeah, it's weird. You know, it's totally like a woman. A woman was driving a tourist bus. She was at a red light. She popped her head out the window. Like, are you on Ghost? You know, it's just stuff like that. It's, yeah, I had no clue how popular it was. So it's been super fun. And yeah, I'm very, very fortunate. The people that play my family, we're all pals. We have a nice text chain going. So just, you know, in terms of a job, it's been an actor's dream for sure.
Yeah, you know, just because of that, I won't charge you my daily rate. Just give me a role on the show. We'll call it even. But yeah, you know, that show is very popular. And like one of my friends, he always asks me about it because one of my longtime high school buddies, his co-star from a Netflix show they did together, her boyfriend plays. He's on, I think, Raising Cane on Power, but I can't remember which one.
That's
but
great,
he's. I think it's he's on one of those shows in that universe. And it's something that I've even asked my manager about. Like, hey, you know, I'm back in New York, you know, can we get myself on there? But hey, it's a very popular show. Everybody, because it's an urban show. It's a lot of diversity in New York. So it's like the perfect place. And I actually saw them filming before the strike, like maybe 2 months ago. They was filming right up here on the Upper East Side. So you know, it's always packed. It's always a great vibe, great scene. Let me ask you something. Just, you know, if you had to choose between Power Book or The Incoherence. No, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do that. If you want to, though, but I'm not gonna do that.
They're two sides of an awesome coin that I don't want to choose.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding. I'm just, you know, throwing you on a hot seat. So let me ask you, you know, like I said, you've been doing this for a long time, and I know you made a post about this. If you don't mind me bringing it up, but I know you had mentioned that, you know, you've been doing this for like 20 years. You've been able to support your family doing this, and now how the times is changing. You know, the days of just being a full-time working actor, at least just temporarily, is going to be hard. And, you know, you have to pick up full-time job. I'm hearing stories of other, you know, celebrity actors talking about they're losing their homes. You know, I've heard some stories of other celebrity actors working regular jobs now because, you know, bills got to get paid. Yeah. How has that been for you? Do you look at it in a negative way, or you say, you know what, the strike is important. We'll weather the storm. I'll get back to what I was doing before, and it'll all blow over.
Well, the writing's been on the wall for me for about a year and a half because I started acting in. I did my first play in November of '97, so I'm on my 26th year in the business. And I made for many years, my main source of income was from commercial work, primarily voiceovers. But what's not being discussed in this particular conversation about the strike is that commercial work has been completely decimated as well because of non-union work, because stuff is streaming and not on network, so commercials aren't running as much. Celebrities are doing tons of commercial. So that whole market has shrunk as well, where, you know, guys like me, a working class actor, you can make a living there, and then you're, you know, whatever income you can make from TV and film would be more supplementary. So that's not even discussed as well. So I have to say, like, I knew the writing was on the wall, and my ego was definitely hurting as you know, as I realized this is getting harder and harder. And I remember having a conversation with a friend I grew up in New Jersey, with a friend from Jersey, over the about 5-6 months ago, and he was telling, "Oh, I see you're doing Power, and I see because I'm the narrator of this documentary series on the Weather Channel called Weird Earth,
Okay.
so with social media, you're just putting your crap out there just to make people look like you're doing important stuff, when behind the scenes you're missing 99% of your auditions, but that's everybody knows social media is BS, or whatever."
Right.
And I'm telling you, I didn't kind of want to get into the fact that like I'm kind of struggling. Like I didn't want to say like I'm not really making a ton of money from these jobs. Just, and now that the strike is on, like I said, it's the cover's been lifted. It's like, oh yeah, most of these people are just middle class people. We're not rich. We're we most of us are working paycheck to paycheck. Just trying to make ends meet. So in that, it's been a bit of relief. Like, I was more relieved to say, yeah, I actually don't make a ton of money right now from the acting world. And as I said, Power is an awesome place to work, but I have to book multiple Powers per year,
Right,
to make a living. I have 2 teenage kids. I have a mortgage. To pay all my bills and maybe have a little bit extra over, maybe to take a trip or something like that, take a vacation. I would need to book multiple Powers in order to do that. And it's hard enough to book one Power. Forget about 4 or 5 or how many I would need to, to support my family. So at first it was an ego blow, and now not so much. Yeah, I'm working. If anybody is in New York and wants to stop down, I'm the manager of a cocktail bar in the Woolworth building across from City Hall called Five and Dime. I started a film program there, so we're screening original shorts on Friday nights. We had a girls in film event there a couple of weeks ago. Place was packed, so that's been great because at least I can bring some creativity to my job, as opposed to just, hey, it's just a survival job where I'm just paying bills. There's actually a creative element where I can help out other filmmakers, actors, directors, and give them a platform to show their stuff, especially now when everything is on hold. So yeah, it was a blow, but once I realized, once everybody's in the same boat, then all that stuff kind of goes away. And I'm fortunate to have a job that I like. So that definitely helps. But yeah, a lot of people are going back to work because the money's not there. And like I said, a lot of these people had made money from commercial work before, and that money's not nearly there like it used to be either. I mean, you're younger. I mean, you're younger than me. I mean, it's different. I'm older. Look, I'll be honest, like back in the 2000s and, between I was 30s, early 40s, most of the jobs were booked by white guys with deep voices like myself. In the last 10 years, there's, I would say not so much 10, 5 or 7 years, there's been a push more towards diverse voices, which I completely support. We don't live in a white, what I know some people like to think we do, but we don't live in a white guy's world, because America is a very diverse place. So needed to change. So yeah, the fact that I'm older now, I'm going to have less opportunity, and that's fine. But it's clear there's just a lot less opportunity to work commercially. What about your friends who are doing commercials? Are they seeing a lot of opportunities, or not?
No, and that's one of the key parts I was talking about. For a lot of people in the union, I understand their frustration, because I'm not in the union, which I'm working towards right now. I waited.
You will be, don't worry.
No, yeah, I will be, and I went the direct route, because most of the people I know who got into the union did it through background work. And for people who aren't familiar with the entertainment industry, that's just, I've done the background work and it was fun. I got to meet you doing Incoherence. That's one of the first background things I did, but I just couldn't. I wanted to, if I'm going to join the union and pay my dues, that $3,000, I wanted to do it in a way where it was feasible. And when you talk about commercial, there's one of the things I bring up, and your post that you made on Instagram, I sent it to a lot of people, because a lot of people was like, oh, actors, why they complaining? They make all this money, they're on TV. I'm like, well, just because someone's on TV don't mean nothing. And
doesn't mean anything. And you're only as good as your last job. It doesn't, you're only as good as your last job.
And I was telling a friend, like, I did a Matches from commercial last summer. And one of the girls that was another principal in the commercial, we was talking, just like a 15-hour day. And we was talking, and she was like, hey, I'm making more money on this non-union commercial than I did on the Netflix show. I'm like, wait, you sure? Like, numbers don't. She's like, yeah, with overtime and all this stuff, I'm making way more money doing this. But the problem was she was SAG, so she was able to get a exemption for this. But most of the commercials in LA is non-union, which is great for me. A lot of voiceover work is non-union, which is great for
Right.
me. But I don't. The money is so. I'm not gonna lie, it's crap. Why are these
Crap.
major corporations getting away with paying $200 per day and only $800 buyout fee for 2-3 years in perpetuity? So that's one of the reasons why I agree with the strike, is because the commercial work, yeah, it's first of all, I don't really go out. I do go out for a lot of commercial work, but I'm not really trying to book as much commercial work just because my look just don't really fit many of them. But even if I did,
Well,
the money just isn't there.
yeah, I remember before I was in the union, I did a non-union commercial for Burlington Coat Factory, and I made, I think it was $360 or $400, and I think it was $400, and I gave my manager at the time 10%, so it was $360. That thing played all over the country. Multiple people, multiple cities said, "Hey, I saw you on your Burlington Coat Factory commercial." Played for like 2 years. I made $360. It's BS, but I knew going in, yeah. And this was 20 years ago, so I don't even know what non-union people are getting paid now. So, yeah, there's there's a lot of non-union work, but also the non-union work means you're not paying into pension. You're not getting any sort of points towards being SAG. You're not getting any residuals. You're just getting a buyout fee. And look, what I realized recently as this is going on, and I've always considered myself to be a working class person, and I still am. And the story of America, a lot of the story of America is the story of capital exploiting labor. And that is what is going on with us. And I know it does sound like wussies. We're like do something else, right? You're actors, whatever. I kind of see that point, but like I said, the reality is, like I said, it's $134 billion business. It's in a business. This isn't a little bit of a business where maybe you can eke out something. This is a $134 billion business, and the actors see less than 2% of that. And granted, there's a lot going on. There's all sorts of tentacles are going on, and crew and catering and all sorts of things that are part of that, which is great for the economy of wherever stuff is being filmed. But how is this possible that the CEO of whatever the guy's name is, it's David
is it
something.
Iger you're talking about?
What's that?
David Iger or something?
No, Iger's the guy from Disney, but there's this other guy, David. I can't remember his last name. I think maybe he's from Warner Brothers. I'm getting his name wrong. I'm not going to say it, but I read somewhere he got a $250 million stock buyout. And that's what these companies want. This is the story, not just for actors, of all labor that's being exploited. Everything is about the stocks and the stockholders and squeezing every little bit of profit out of the company at the expense of workers, so the stockholders make more money. And a lot of these CEOs and corporate honchos, they get paid in the stock, so it's in their interest for the stock price to be raised. Right. I just saw this. Somebody posted a clip of this guy who was on a Disney show. Maybe he was a writer and actor on a Disney show, because he was talking about what the writers have to go through for these shows, and he was saying that the first 3 years of a show, if you write on it, or maybe it's act, I'm pretty sure he was talking about the writing. If you the first 3 years, he was working on a Disney show, like like Hannah Montana, one of those, and I guess like 88%. You get like the first 3 years, you get 88% or something of the fee. I don't know. I'm getting this wrong, not completely right. But what happens is, after the third year, once you get into the fourth year, they bump you up to 100%. But what they do is they rebrand the show with a different title, even though it's the same show. And you lose that tenure. So you go back to whatever you were making before, and you don't get that bump. So they're finding all sorts of ways to screw us. Like, I had a friend that was on The Equalizer, right?
The Denzel Washington movie.
No, the show.
Oh, with Queen Latifah.
Yeah, he was on a show. I probably shouldn't have said the name. I'll get in trouble. Whatever. It is what it is. He was in a bunch of scenes. Like, it was clearly a guest star role. A guest star role is different from a co-star role. Like, for your audience that doesn't know, co-stars are normally, 5 lines or less, maybe one scene, get paid a day, like one day. But for guest stars, you get a bigger role, a bigger credit. It looks better on your resume. You get a top of show credit. And he was in 4 seasons. He was a vital part of the show. And he still got a co-star credit. Like, why are they doing that to him? To save a few bucks? When, like,
Yeah.
the money that, you know, you give us, the money that they would give us is much more important to us than the money that they're taking away from us is to them. That extra like $1,000 or whatever it is, you know, that means a lot to us. For them, it's nothing. If you're making millions of dollars a year, it's nothing. But they must. This is what I just don't understand about our country right now. Like the greed. We've always been a greedy country, but it's off the charts right now. You know.
Yeah.
It's off the charts how greedy people are, and you see the suffering. I know we're getting off on a different tangent here, but it's all tied together. You know, about why are we constantly treating working people? Why are we trying to make it so hard for them to make a living when there's so much out there and so many people have so much?
Right. No, you hit it right on the head, and that's what it all comes down to. That's why, for me, that's why anybody who says or make jokes, oh, you know, actors, why y'all complaining? You know, you don't realize this, but this is going to impact every industry. Like right now, I know LA, the workforce started striking, I think 2 days ago because of the same thing. Working conditions, the pay, you know, suck. And, you know, for actors, you know, for people who say, oh, you know, get a real job or whatever the case may be, while you're going to tell musicians that, you're going to tell your favorite artists that, you know, this is a craft that, you know, we deserve to make a living off. You know, people,
especially because the money is there, pure person.
Exactly.
That's the thing. The money is there.
We're not talking about local community theater here. We're talking about, you know, billion-dollar budgets and all that stuff. Well, multi-million-dollar budgets. And it should be no way that someone like you or someone who's on a popular TV show recurring has to be working flipping tables. Like it's in no way, shape, or form am I putting down any type of jobs like that because I've done them. But again, it's like, how do you go from working a big popular TV show to now flipping burgers? And like, imagine the cast of Friends doing that show, and then you see them working at the local diner. It's like, well, what?
Do you remember that guy from the Cosby Show they found was working at a Trader Joe's? Remember that story about 5-6 years ago?
Yeah.
And then he's actually on Power. He actually has.
I didn't know that.
He plays Tariq's lawyer. And I actually saw him on the. I don't know the guy. I just saw him on the picket line a few weeks ago. I didn't say hello. But people wanted to demean him because he worked at Trader Joe's. I mean, is that not a crock of shit or what? I mean, like, why would you treat somebody like that? Just yes, he was on the Cosby Show in 1989. You know, how many people were working steadily in 1989 and not working now? You know, it's a super duper hard business. I failed 99% out of 100 times, maybe more. It might be 99.5. I don't know what my percentage is, but they're super duper low. You know, so. We just want to treat it like anybody else with some dignity, you know.
Right.
And right now we're not. Right now they want us to, you know. Another thing in my post that I had read is that the show business saved $250 million from self tapes.
Oh yeah.
And we don't get that money back. Like
nope.
I have to rearrange my son's room. I push his bed against the wall. I take down this thing behind. Like I go through a whole thing. I mean, I know it is in a way it's a wussy thing. I get it. I get it. It does.
I don't think it is, but
if you're out there, you know, working construction or working on a road crew, like working your ass off in the heat every day for 10, 12 hours a day, this sounds really, really soft. It does.
Fair enough. Fair.
I completely admit that. But at the same time, this is our industry, and other people are profiting off of us in any way they can. You know, when you work on a road crew, you know you're going to get hopefully your union wage is a good union wage so you can support your family. You're out, you know, you're working your ass off out there. Hopefully you're making, I don't know what they're making, hopefully 30, 40 hours, 30 or $40 an hour. You know, hopefully they're making, you know, a nice, you know, bringing up a couple $1,000s a week. Cause like I said, you live in New York and live in LA, they're expensive places to live.
Yep.
And especially if you got a family, you need money, you know, it's just the way it is. But we don't have those kind of provisions, you know. I mean, I did a Netflix show, and I actually looked back recently. My residuals it was like pathetic. It wasn't even normally like on the network shows I've done. I look back and and over the course of the residuals, I've probably made 2.5 to 3 times what my initial fee was to be on the show.
Right.
Right. But on the Netflix show, I didn't even make 100%. of what my fee was. And that's Netflix. And this is, I won't
Right.
say what the show was, but it's a popular show, part of a popular group of shows by a massive entity, which I won't name because I'll probably get in trouble and maybe never work again. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Because I know personally you have like 4 to 5 million people watching this, so I know I have to be very, very
Tom Cruise.
careful when
I'm sorry.
That's right. Sorry, T. Cruz. Yeah. But just stuff like that, and this is all things that I really didn't give a ton of thought about until the strike came up. Like, man, it really is getting harder. It's like so. And then I messaged a couple people in the biz that I do sort of tangentially, that sort of in my age group, and I'm like, "Are you having the same issues that I have?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And these are people that are more successful than me for sure. But they're like, "Oh yeah." Like I was messaging with one guy, and he was saying, "I don't even tell young actors to go into voiceovers anymore. The work's not there." So how are you supposed to give yourself to this world if the doors to barriers for entry or any way to survive are getting harder and harder, and then on top of that, you're supposed to have a full-time job to hold it down,
Right.
And I'm fortunate. Right now, I'm fortunate with the job I got. I like it, and it's going to be, once this strike is over, it'll be flexible. So I'm lucky, but not everybody is lucky as I am.
No, you 100% right. That flexibility is hard, and that's one of the reasons why I like to have people on the podcast who do, some type of entertainment or in the entertainment industry, because a lot of people who think is all, roles. Oh, you see Tom Cruise jumping off of buildings, hear about his rumored salary of $50 million per role. Yeah, right. That's a lot of money for Tom Cruise.
He's worth it.
What about the other actors?
He's worth it.
Right. And, I'm not disputing that.
Yeah. But it's just we're the ones coming in for a scene or two to make those scenes pop, to make those people look good. I'm a huge basketball fan, and Shaquille O'Neal always talks about the others, meaning when he and Kobe were the stars of the team, he's like, "Where's my Rick Fox? Where's my Robert Horry? Where's my Derek Fisher?" The supporting players that are necessary for the team to win a championship. You gotta have the others. Like if you watch the Denver Nuggets this year, they had a great surrounding cast around Jokic, their best player. That's us. We're the others. We're the supporting people making the stars look good.
Right.
And it's when you see the numbers that are going around, it's hard to believe that they're constantly trying to skimp on us in every way, shape, and form they can. And it also affects health insurance too.
Yeah.
The more you skimp, the less chance of us getting health insurance. Only 13% of us make the $26,500 or whatever it is to qualify for health insurance. It used to be, before the pandemic, there was 2 tiers. There was, you have to make like 17, 18 grand for the tier 2 insurance, which is lesser insurance, but still insurance nonetheless. And then you had to make, I think, low 30s for the tier 1. Now they combined it. So the threshold for the top is a little easier, but that earlier threshold is much harder to get. So yeah, right. 13% of that's a terrible ratio. It's terrible.
It is it is awful. And this is why I wanted you to have on, because I wanted somebody who clearly understands what's happening. Because it mind blows me. I was telling my manager a couple of days ago where she has actors on the roster who are complaining about the strike. I'm Stephen Amell, not to call him out, he's failing the city with his statements about the strike. And it's like, as actors, y'all should understand the importance of what's happening, because the top echelon, The Rock, who I will be replacing at some point, but The Rock,
you should.
Tom Cruise, yeah, I should, right?
He has 1/4 of your charisma,
and not much of hair. So The Rock, right. I'm coming for you. But no, the upper echelon, and I tell people, the people who are complaining about it, about the strike, are looking, outside the industry, are looking at the upper echelon. It's like looking at Bill Gates and Elon Musk and say, "Oh, all these people make all this money. Why are you complaining?" Well, just because they making all the money don't mean everybody else is. And I want to break this down, for a second. Because we have the writer strike and the actors union coming together striking. And I've heard reports, I've seen stories, and people on Twitter, other actors on Twitter, share residual checks, right? And they say, "Hey, I'm on this popular TV show, 5 cents of a residual check. How is this happening?" And I've heard, there's one veteran actor, I can't remember his name, I saw it this morning, but he he was a writer actually, and he was talking about network shows and streaming, and he was talking about how when he was on doing this like 20 years ago, when he was doing TV, his residual checks were through the roof. I mean, he can, not work for 2, 3, 4 years because the money was coming in. Now, the money's not there. And I think that's why one of the important reasons why the strike is because of the difference between TV and streaming, right? So do you think that in that aspect, do you think the strike should have happened sooner rather than, now I'm not saying right now it's a bad time, but do you think we should have done this a couple years ago, like during the pandemic when streaming really became a big thing?
Well, I think we had to wait for the contract to run out, first of all. But I just think that, I guess, the contract that was negotiated before, I don't think they realized how badly we were being taken advantage of, or hopefully they would have done something about it. But clearly the model is failing us. And this is the future of television. This is what's, network TV is going to die eventually. Cable's going to die. Everything's going to be streaming. It's all going to be our choice. And, we'll probably have to make some concessions. I mean, it is a negotiation. We're probably not going to get everything we want. But unless we get enough that makes this life sustainable, then why would we go back? They're not making the content. They're just making the deals. They're just in the offices shuffling the cards, okay. They're not making The Bear or Succession or Atlanta or these great shows that were going to last forever. They're not doing any of this. They're not doing any of that. They're just making the money off of us and the people who create. And I think that's what, most of the people who've been talking about this have been saying. Like, we're creating the content. You're not creating it. You're just making the deals. And you're making all the money. And if you want good content, if you want people to have a sustainable living and continue to go in this business and continue to make it grow and be interesting, there has to be some set to do it, as opposed to it can't be a hobby. This is not a hobby. It's too hard for it to be a hobby. If it's your hobby, you're not going anywhere. If you just wanted to be a hobby and you just want to do community theater, terrific. As long as you're doing, that's great. But if you want to make a living, the business has to be sustainable for everybody, and clearly it's not. It's not. Right. It's not. I don't really, unless I became a series regular, which I'm not counting on. I can't imagine that I'll be able to make a living like I used to, specifically from acting. I just don't see a path forward. I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll get lucky. But another thing I had seen was that back when you were talking about the actors talking about 20 years ago, the residual of 20 years ago. Yeah, I read something where, if you book 3 guest star roles on network TV a year, you could pretty much make your yearly nut. Your what you need for the year, because the roles were good. You get a couple weeks on set, then if you're getting that 2.5, 3 times, like I said, in residuals beyond what your initial fee, you put that together. Yeah, I can survive on this. And to do that in streaming, you would need to book 3 times as many. Like I read somewhere 8 to 13, 3 network shows now equals 8 to 13 streaming shows. Who's booking 13 guest stars in a year?
That's crazy. Nobody.
If you look at really busy actors, if you look, sometimes I'll see an actor that I like and I'll check his IMDb page out. The best he's doing is 3 or 4 shows a year. That's it. You don't see. It's impossible to book 13, even 8. Who's booking 8? Unless, if you're booking 8 guest stars, you're a series regular. Like you're already on that track. So yeah, I mean, I can say this because I have a regular job now, but I don't think we should get off the picket line. I don't think we should succumb until we get what we deserve. And I think, we had 98% approval rating for the strike that we, so I don't see us backing down anytime soon.
No, and like you said, this strike is important. I know Tom Cruise during the press conference or one of the press tours he was doing for the new Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, he was saying, something about the strike too. He said, what about stunt workers? These people are important too, and there's so many people who are not being talked about. Yeah, you think about it like the faces in front of the camera, but the stunt workers? What about them? And now one of the other questions, and something I've been talking about more so recently, is AI. AI is threatening writers. AI is going to start threatening us too. Why? Because we're already hearing that some actors are already in talks of doing digitally cloning themselves for projects, right? And that's going to be a huge issue. Why? Because one, like you said, these corporations are looking at any way to save money. I love the entertainment industry, and I get it. Everybody's trying to save a dollar, especially now with the movies budgets. Unless you're going to if you're going to the movie theaters, it seems to be a trend that the budget needs to be 75 plus $1 million just to even compete with the other movies, right?
Yeah.
So how do you keep the budget low but keep the profit high? Oh, I don't need I know one thing they're talking about is background actors. Okay, we will pay background actors a day of work to use their digital likeness and for behind the scenes for TV shows and movies. Okay, for the for them, it's a great move. I don't need to worry about paying the casting office and paying these actors to come on set. All right, you sign the waiver, I can use it whenever I want to. I'll just pay you a day, shoo. But then what happens to the background actor? They don't get no money. They don't get no work. We're going to, start fading into black too, because then they're going to say, hey, I don't need you. I can use Denzel, pay him, less fee. Let's say Denzel's fee is $15 million. We'll give him $3 million to use his likeness in this commercial, and he could sit at home and get paid. I don't need to pay you. I just give him the money, and it will boost my commercial sales, right? And that's going to be a huge issue. So in that regard, do you think AI is, besides writers, do you think it is going to impact the entertainment industry, or am I dead wrong? I'm completely out of line here.
I mean, this is not an area that I'm super informed on. Obviously, it's a huge concern, but I really do feel that human beings want to watch human beings and not digital replicas of a human being. So I just don't see how you're ever gonna feel or laugh watching a digital replica or something. Like, you can't recreate Robert De Niro in Raging Bull with AI. Like, that has to come from a human being, or Denzel in Malcolm X.
Right.
Or, it's impossible. And and you can't. I wouldn't think that you could feed a program into a computer and pump out an incredible script, because there are human nuances in there that the computer's not going to have.
Right.
Listen, like I said, I could be super wrong, but the computer's not a human being. Doesn't feel like a human being. Doesn't experience things like a human being. And the same with acting. I mean, even to make somebody like to laugh, you can't be as funny as Jamie Foxx with an AI. You can't do it. Right. Or Eddie Murphy or Will Ferrell, or anybody that makes us laugh. It can't be done. Can't be done. So I'm optimistic that I think as a society we're gonna push back on these things, because I just don't think that watching digital replicas of things is going to make people feel like they used to when they watch something.
No, you're right. And the reason why I even thought about that,
they're going to try. I'm not saying they're not going to try. Sorry to interrupt.
Right.
I'm not saying they're not going to try. I just think that I'm hopefully an optimistic person. I think we as humans and society are going to ultimately reject it. I hope I'm right. I hope you're right too. I'm a very optimistic person, but the funny thing is, I was watching Hot Box and Mike Tyson's podcast, and he was interviewing Tony Yayo from G Unit, and they was talking about a song that G Unit did 20 years ago, where AI or whoever's controlling AI was able to digitally change the voices of that song and use Notorious B.I.G. and Tupac actually do the chorus itself. And you would never, if you heard the song, wow, you would have thought they recorded the whole song themselves. Wow. And voiceovers, think about it now. They don't need to hire a no-name actor. You can use Denzel's voice to do the voiceover for commercial and boost sales. And like I said, I hope it don't get to that point, but it was a conversation I was having with somebody. Is at what point, like you said,
It's all greed. This is all coming down to greed. America is greedy. Everybody's trying to save a dollar. So for a lot of these corporations, I'm not trying to give them ideas. So if you're listening, it's not an idea. But at some point, they're gonna look at self tapes, right? We're the director, the writer, the producer, the editor. We're doing all of that. We have to make sure the lighting is good, memorize the lines, record, have somebody help us. We got to edit, send it in. It's a lot of work. A self tape used to take me 15-30 minutes. Now it's 2-hour production because you got to it's crazy. But at some point, technology is going to become advanced, and one of the reasons why I use that was the industry is going to be like, especially for writers. I don't know what the standard for a movie is, but let's say a movie usually hires 4 writers, right? Now with AI, even though it's not perfected right now, they say, hey, we usually pay 4 writers, $500,000 to do this movie, but with AI, we don't need all 4 of you because we got something that can do most of the writing, do most of the work. So, 2 of you guys or 3, you're fired. Go find something else. We'll keep you here. And instead of paying you your normal fee, because all you're really going to be doing is, perfecting it, making sure reading through, make sure you need any edits. Instead of 500,000, I'll give you 250. And for them it sounds great, but for many other writers, it is going to limit the amount of work and the opportunities and the money, the cap that they can make, because now they looked at disposable. We have AI here. We don't need you. So,
right.
In that regard, do you think that's going to be an issue, or that you just hope that it could all work out?
Well, that's an interesting thing you brought up. I really didn't think about that, how you could sort of have AI, make a script, and then maybe you bring in one writer to punch some things up. Right. I had never thought about that before. And also what you said about voiceovers, and they could easily do that. Hey, give me gravelly voice white guy. Give me, black guy from the Bronx in his mid-20s. Give me that voice. Give me a Latino woman in her mid-30s. Like, I'm sure they can do that, no problem. And there's probably an aspect. There's probably a thing where no one would know the difference, if you heard when you're hearing a voice on a television commercial, whether it was AI or not. So that could definitely decimate that world. I've already written it off. I mean, I'm still auditioning. There's still some work out there, but yeah, that would completely decimate it. And what you said about the script seems completely feasible. I mean, there's a reason why people are freaked out about it. They've obviously, some of the people I'm sure that are privy to some of the things that were going on that we're not behind the scenes probably see some really scary trends, like, oh man, they're really trying to eliminate us, or at least minimize as much as possible. The writers used to be on television shows for 22 episodes. Now everything is 10 or 8, or which is more to my liking. I'm not gonna the days of me watching 22 episodes or something is long behind me. I just don't have the attention span for that anymore. But that means the writers do have to find multiple jobs per year to put it all together, which is a lot, So there's that's just the way the business is gone with streaming. And I think most people probably, as a viewer, probably like it because there's less episodes. And look, most TV shows, if they're 24 episodes, it's going to be a lot of filler episodes that aren't that great,
Right.
So for the writer, it's gotten even harder and harder. And I'm sure they're a little even more freaked out about the writing, about the AR than the actors. But if both unions are hanging tough and refuse to budge on this stuff, then obviously long term it's a problem. And if like a lot of people are saying, if we don't fight this now, it's over.
Yeah, we're gonna lose our standing, and that's why right now. I didn't realize the contracts and all that stuff. I'm still pretty youthful in the industry, but it's one of those things where I look at this from a non-selfish lens. Yeah, I had a couple of great opportunities right before the strike. That now I'm like, man, what if I did book that, or what if I was able to do that? That change it. But right. I think unselfishly, I tell people, look, you may not like the strike, but would you rather work a popular Netflix show and then still go to your day job, or would you be would you like to be on a show and not have to worry about how I'm find a day job to be flexible? I don't think anybody, you, me, you've been doing it longer than me, but I don't want to be, after doing it for a couple of years, I get tired of having to balance, a day job and going to auditions and all that stuff too, which leads me to another question I have for you. A lot of people have been up or either siding or disagreeing with self-tapes. The rise of self-tapes during the pandemic is a big thing. So, and I know that's one of the things people are addressing is the demand of self-tapes. Because, for me, now that I'm going out for TV shows and stuff, I'm like, yo, what? I mean, the amount of lines I got to memorize and, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining because it's an opportunity. But at the same time, if I had, to go to work that day and I only have, 24 hours to, go to work, sleep, memorize the lines. And, it's a lot of work to memorize 5-6 pages for an audition. So what do you think? Self-tapes, are you, are you for it or are you against it?
Well, there are definitely some advantages. I am very nervous at auditions. So the fact that, you can just sort of control the environment in your room and do as many takes as you want is a good thing. At the same time, being able to do as many takes as you want is sometimes not a good thing because you keep thinking, oh, I'm going to get a better take. I'm going to get a better take. I'm going to get a better take. Right. You don't have anybody directing you. Sometimes maybe that first take you gave was really good and you just need a little tweak and you get that second one, then you're done. But you don't know that when you're doing a self-tape. So there are definite pros and cons. Like I said, because you can control the environment, you can get the take that you want, but that's not necessarily the take that maybe the casting director would have pushed you towards. So now I'm definitely ready to get back in the room. I just listen. Everybody gets nervous at auditions. It's silly, but it's just if you listen to a lot of actors, they still talk about getting nervous at auditioning. Famous actors like, oh my God, I hate auditioning. I'd be so nervous. It's kind of silly to be nervous over, hey, 2 scenes on a TV show. I'll completely admit, but it is what it is. It's just the performance. Sometimes you get that performance anxiety, or just and especially too when you need the money.
Right.
When there's no worst way to audition is when, man, I really need this job.
Right.
Because then there's a whole layer of crap in your body that you got to overcome, as opposed to just being relaxed and doing the best you can do.
Right.
So I don't think self-tapes are ever going to go away, and I'm okay with that. But we need a mix. I had a commercial audition the other day on Zoom. And it was great. Just because, okay, I can do this. Because you're actually getting feedback and you're actually doing it for somebody. And I did 2 takes and I was done. Now, if I was recording that by myself, I'd probably spend 2 hours, done multiple takes, went through the multiple takes. Okay, I like 3 and 6, and now you put it to, and then it's a whole. By the time you step through, it's like you said, it's 2 or 3 hours. Whereas if you just pop in a room, you're done in 10 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever. Granted, you got to travel, but also the in-person stuff. Like I said, it creates that sense of community amongst the actors again, which we don't have anymore.
Yeah.
So I think self-tapes ultimately are always going to be part of what's going on going forward, but hopefully it'll be more of a mix of in-person stuff and self-tape. But I do know that I think some people for callbacks have been getting called into the office. Sometimes the initial audition will be a self-tape and then the callback will be in the office.
I'm still on the fence because, I like that last idea you said, audition, self-tape and then the callback in person. For me, one of the hardest things I had to deal with, especially living in LA, because New York is a little easier. But LA, or if you live in an area where you have to drive everywhere, the cost for me, I didn't have a car in LA, so I used to have to Uber unless I was able to have borrow my roommate's car. But I was spending, $100+ a day just Ubering around to different auditions, going to work, and it's I think the money aspect for a lot of people, they say, hey, all right, I might have a day job, a job that works in the day, or I have kids or family to worry about, missing, calling out, because not everybody's job is flexible where you can call like, hey, I'm being a couple minutes late, hour late, I got an audition. a lot of people don't have those type of jobs, unfortunately. So, to constantly go, hey, I'm gonna be late. You might get fired after a couple times of doing that. And I think for some people, it has made opportunities easier, right? Because now you don't need to be in New York or LA just to, audition for these type of opportunities.
Yeah.
Because realistically, honestly, I don't want to live in New York. I love New York, born and raised here. I love the city. But it is expensive, I mean, just to go out on a day. I'm just like for you, taking, going out with your family might cost you, $200-$300, excluding food and all that. It costs a lot of money to just live in the city. And I think self-tapes has allowed many people to get in a room of stuff that they would never get the opportunity to unless they lived in LA. And but like you said, it's like you're also not getting that in-person experience anymore. And I don't know. You know what though? I say this. I think for the industry, they look at it in a good way because they don't have to pay for commercial space no more. Now, casting directors can work from home, agents can work from home, everybody can work from home. We don't have to spend, $5,000 a month on office space. And so I think like you said, it needs to be a hybrid. I think we need a mix of, maybe in certain stages, it could be self-tape so people don't have to call off work for an audition. But if it's a callback or, maybe a meeting with the, the executives or something, those could be in person, the little more important stuff.
I would like more. I don't mind doing it at home, but maybe more where you're zooming with the casting director, like I told you about last week. I had a couple of those, but mostly it's self-tapes. But yeah, if you can have the actual person that you're working off on camera, and then the casting director giving you direction, I would be into that for sure.
That's actually not. I mean, think about it.
I wish they did more of that. Yeah,
that's actually not a bad idea. Because think about all they have to do is just send you the link, send everybody who got the audition link, and you just join whenever time. And then you sit like this and just prop it up and keep it simple.
Right.
That's another way. I think it really comes down to. Someone mentioned this before. Humans are becoming lazy, right? We're over relying on technology, right? And that's no way. That's not just the entertainment industry. It's all industries. Now you're seeing McDonald's where they have robots serving you your McDoubles. So I think we have relied on technology too much. And I think so many people are so used to this type of world now that going in person is just not feasible for them because they're so used to, I can record multiple takes. Because now, if you go in the audition room, you don't get that luxury no more. And I don't, it's a tough one. It's a tough one because I definitely understand like what you're saying. It's like, you want that in-person connection because how many people have booked jobs just because the casting director or the producer found something in common with you, right?
Yeah.
But now you don't get that experience. Let me ask you another question. Do you think with self-tapes, do you think the workload needs to be less? Like I know guest star, recurring roles are probably going to take a little more work and casting is going to be involved a little more. But do you think the idea of having to memorize 10 pages of dialogue for a self-tape audition and 24-hour turnaround, do you think that type of thing needs to be, because I know that's one of the things they want to address is the amount of material requested for self-tapes.
Right. Well, as you know, it's always better to be off book for your audition. It's better to have the lines locked in. You're just more freer in the audition. I fortunately haven't had a situation where I was so overwhelmed with lines that I couldn't memorize them in a short amount of time. But in that case, I would just tell the casting director, look, I just couldn't pull off 10 lines in 24 hours. I'm going to need these lines in front of me, and hopefully that'll still work. I saw online an audition with Adam Driver's audition for Girls with Lena Dunham, and they had the pages in their hands. I mean, he was probably already like, it was probably a callback, so maybe like the pressures, you already know you're getting close, or you're in the running, so having a paper in your hand maybe was not that big of a deal. But most of the times you want the paper out of your hand. You don't want to be thinking about the lines. You want them locked in so you don't have to think about them. But that, if someone's dropping you 10 thinking you're going to memorize 10 pages in 24 hours. That ain't gonna happen. I think you just got to
No.
tell them, dude, I can't do it. I need the paper. I need the pages in my hand. Sorry.
Yeah.
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 I mean, that's
I've
just
had.
courtesy.
It is courtesy. I've had a couple buddies in the industry talking about that. Like, hey, I had, unfortunately, a lot of them are ones that don't have to worry about a day job. So it's not like they got to balance a family and a work schedule. So it's a little more easier. But even then, it's like, imagine you have to work, go to work 8-9 hours, and then you might have kids at home. Now you got to spend time with the kids and the family, but you got 10 pages of dialogue to memorize. Luckily, I don't think that happens often, but I do think self-tapes need to be a little more, especially commercial work, because I've noticed with commercials, oh my, those self-tape lists be extreme. Like I gotta slate this way, and then I gotta go for a medium shot for something else, and I gotta do a full body shot, and I gotta change the camera and do this. It's like, yo, it shouldn't take me a full-time job to do this one thing. Now, don't get me wrong, like I said, it's an opportunity. I would never complain, but I think it's easier for someone who doesn't have family, who doesn't have a mortgage, don't have too many responsibilities to say that's cool with me. But for you, for other people who might have life, things outside of acting that you need to take care of, that could be a little too much sometimes. And I think I look at it this way. Everybody's situation is different. Not everybody has the luxury of not having to worry about rent. And it's a tough one.
Because also you need to be kind of stay in the moment while you're moving the camera around, doing all, you're trying to stay in character.
Right.
And then you're breaking, but I got to move the camera here. I got to get this big. I got to get this angle. Yeah, it does become. Yeah, on audition, you just want to be focused on the work and the character. You don't want to be dealing with all the other stuff. But it's the new world, man.
Yep. Unfortunately, now I got another one for you, another fun one. So I'm part of like this little acting group on. Well, I wouldn't say little. There's like 100,000 people in it, but this Facebook group I'm part of, talent. What is it? Talent managers or something. But it's been a lot of talk during, especially right now with the strike. Many people are talking about in the SAG contract. Apparently, there's a rule where actors get paid for auditions or something along those lines.
Right.
So that's being brought up. A lot of people saying, hey, a lot of these casting of executives and stuff, they don't have to pay for us, they don't have to pay for office space anymore. So why, instead of just holding that money as profit, why don't they give it out to actors, for, maybe half reimbursement gas, or just for the trouble of having to do all the self-tape work? How do you feel about that? Do you think actors deserve to get paid for, auditions and stuff?
If it's in the contract, sure. Well, definitely. Look, I don't think actors should get paid for auditions. I don't. But I do think the self-tape thing, there should be some stipend for that, especially if the industry is saving $250 million, probably more about at this point. I don't agree that we should get paid for auditions. Then I think you're just getting bogged down in minutia when it's the big picture that we should be worried about, But yeah, I do think the self-tape thing, there should be some sort of stipend for that, or some sort of reimbursement, or maybe we get $100 a year just for the equipment that we buy or something. I don't know, but if they're saving money and the cost being put on us, we should get something for that.
I agree. And speaking of money, we're getting closer to them, but I want to have another fun one. I've had this conversation on camera, off camera, many times. Now, a lot of people are coming out, especially stand-up comedians, other actors, celebrity actors, talking about Marvel, famous directors talking about Marvel. The superhero movies has ruined the movie theater experience. And since you've been in the industry for a long time and you had your own success, I want to get your opinion on this. Many people are saying that superhero movies and big blockbuster movies, where the budgets are 100+ million, because it seems like nowadays most of the high earning movies are upwards of 100 million for a budget.
At least, yeah.
That yes, that they're ruining the industry. They're ruining the movie theater experience because now the days of making a Training Day, a Scarface, a Bronx Tale are long gone because those movies can't compete with an Ant-Man or a Marvel project or even a DC movie. Do you think that superhero movies has ruined the movie theater experience or the entertainment industry as we know it?
I don't think it's helped. Matt Damon, I saw him talking about, he and Ben Affleck sort of made their bones, they're on these bread and butter sort of like mid-sized budget, which is still an enormous amount of money, 30, 40, $50 million budgeted movie, that they made a ton of in their career that have sort of sustained them. And you don't really see those made very much anymore.
No.
That Air movie that came out with the directed by Ben Affleck and starring Matt Damon, that was sort of the kind of movie he was referring to, the mid-sized budget, because I think the executives are just looking for the home runs. Right. They're not looking for doubles. They're looking for massive profits on everything. On any movie that comes out, and I think because movies are so expensive to market, that's probably why. Because some of these, mid-level movies maybe are not going to make crazy profits, so that doesn't seem as appealing to them. But the fact is, put them in the movie theater. Let the people decide. Give us those movies, those types of movies that you were just talking about, and let the people decide. Because it seems like there is a hunger for those types of movies. Look at Barbieheimer. We actually did that weekend. It opened up. It felt like a cultural event. It felt like the movies were back, and it was super fun to go see both movies in the weekend. And they weren't sequels, and they weren't superhero movies, and they were both. I mean, I thought Oppenheimer was an absolute classic. I really like Barbie too. But they were super fun, entertaining movies. We need more of that. We need just more mid-level drama, comedy. I used to like superhero movies. Now, like these Marvel movies, no one's going to be talking about. Nobody's going to be watching these movies in 20, 30 years. No one's going to care. Just maybe kids. But in terms of cinema, in terms of a classic movie, there might be one Marvel movie, Black Panther, that people will watch years from now, and that's maybe about it. Or have any. None of these movies have any sort of long-lasting impact on the culture. At least it doesn't seem like they're going to be to me. They all seem like disposable. They're just entertainment. And that's why Martin Scorsese and Quentin Tarantino kind of said the same thing. It's not my thing. I'm 53 years old. I mean, Marvel movies are not being made for me, which is completely understandable and fine. I don't need them to be made for me, but it does squeeze out the opportunity for smaller movies to break through. And how many great movies could have been made for some $200 clunker? You could have made $10, $20 million movies. And maybe 3 of those are classics, that make money, that propel incredible filmmaking or acting career. But those opportunities are less and less. And sort of these scrappy indies that come out, they just kind of go right to streaming.
Right.
If the Incoherence was made in 1997, we may have had a shot to be in a theater for a little bit, but not in 2019.
No,
a small little movie like that, there's no way that was going to happen. And I would like to see those opportunities. Let these small filmmakers have a shot, because it also makes the movies more expensive to go to.
Right.
Because the budgets are so high on these things, so they pass that cost on to us. And if you want to take your kids to family afford a Marvel movie, popcorn, soda, that's $100.
Yep.
Yeah. So, it was great. It was great to see Robert Downey Jr. and Oppenheimer do something that wasn't Iron Man. And I remember seeing the first Iron Man in the theater and liking it and thinking he was great in it. But I never saw another Marvel movie. And the only other Marvel movie I saw in the movies besides the first Iron Man was Black Panther. That was the only one I was gonna go to.
Yeah, I could get, and the funny thing, you mentioned him, and that's one of the things one of the arguments, I understand why people brought it up. First of all, I'm aiming to be in a superhero movie. It's not a secret at this point.
You
That's
got
a
the
goal,
hair,
right?
dude. Your hair is a superhero right on its own.
That's what I'm saying. It's a little high, so it's frizzing up a little bit. But it's that's the goal,
You
right?
fly with that.
Superman, I'm coming for you. Henry Cavill is over. It's over. But the sad thing is, I think, I love superhero movies. I want to do it. I've been a DC fan since I was a little kid. But I also realize the days of, anybody having a career in movies is long gone, right? Because now, shout out to Sarah Finn Caston. She casts all the Marvel movies. Amazing, all accounts, amazing human being. She likes to look at new faces, right? But it seems to me that the actors of Marvel tend to be the ones that get a lot of the roles outside of Marvel, right? Chris Hemsworth is in almost every Netflix. Yeah, they're all big stars, right? And I think the days of just a fresh face coming out of nowhere and penetrating that atmosphere is long gone. Because I was having a conversation with my manager about that. It's like, for the longest, I always wondered, how do you get in the rooms for this stuff? And she broke it down to me because she knows a couple of people in that circle. It's a lot more work than people think. Now, it's not as hard as being a minority breaking the industry 30, 40 years ago. But to get in that sphere or fear, it takes a lot of work, and it's not a door that everybody could just open just because everything is self-tapes now. And I think I love superhero movies, but I don't think a lot of people go to the movie theaters anymore besides to see a Marvel movie. And that's one of the issues, because so many movie, companies, Incoherence or whatever the case may be, have a project that they want to put in movies. But what happens? Okay, we have Thor coming out in 2 weeks. I can't release this movie anywhere near that movie because audience is not I can't compete with that. And I think that's one of the issues. But it's not a critical thing. I mean, Marvel just created something on its own and it dominated, and they just here because that they dominate that atmosphere. So I can't be mad at them for it. But
I'm not saying there isn't a space for them, but they do crowd out everything. And I'm hoping that with the success of some of the movies this year, like I said, Air has done pretty well, and the Barbieheimer thing, that there will be more room for just standalone films, without CGI, without superheroes, the comedies, dramas, whatever, just something that is just a specific movie, not something they're looking to make 4 sequels out of or market with dolls. I don't know, but I've never been attracted to that kind of stuff. So that's obviously just my opinion, but for me, that's what I want to see. Those are the kind of things I want to see. And there are plenty of people of all ages that want to see those movies too.
Yeah, Barbieheimer is a testament. I loved it, and one of the reasons why it's so successful is because these are 2 movies. Because normally, in the movie theaters, a lot of people. I know Tom Cruise, went back and forth with Christopher Nolan, people about Barbie and the release of Oppenheimer. He didn't want to compete with them, but seeing these 2 different projects actually come together and market themselves in a way where they wasn't trying to compete with each other. It was like, yo, why you can't go see both? You buy a ticket, go see that, and then come see us right after, or see us before, see them after. And I think that's a testament to, if you have a movie or project where you promote it, and I think that's why technology has been that's when I mentioned over reliance of technology, right? Because now people just look at CGI as the end all be all. Oh, we can use CGI. We don't need to do any promotion. Barbieheimer did amazing, and it's crazy because who would have thought Barbieheimer would be a term we'd be using this year? No, but they made it work. They promoted these films, and that's why they went successful. And it's sad, but I actually heard about a movie that came out last year. Assembly Cast, those movies when you have a bunch of celebrities in it, nothing but celebrities, tend to do well. It came out last year, I think in August. It bombed. It was a box office flop. It had Matt Damon, a bunch of other people in it, I think out of the $50 million budget, it only grossed 25 million. It was a bomb, and that shows that those days are long gone. But with that being said, we're creeping up on hour 10. I know you love hearing the most charismatic man, but I know you
do.
got
I can never get enough charisma.
Exactly. I got enough to
feel
go
it
around.
oozing into my face. I love it.
If you need a discount, I got you.
I need an infusion. You got to give me infusion right here.
I got some people. I can hook you up. I'll meet you on the picking line after I get back from vacation, of course. But to cap this off, because I know you got other stuff to do and everything. But what do you look at for the future for this? Do you think that, because I'm predicting by October, November, things might be settled. It may not be 100%, but we'll probably get close to everybody returning back for the new year. What do you see in the future? Do you think this can be resolved in the next few months, or do you think, however long it takes, it just needs to get done and it will get done?
Well, I think that the powers that be are going to realize that we're holding strong and they're going to need content.
Mm-hmm.
There are no new TV shows being produced, and then at any Power was able to finish production right before the strike, so they were fortunate, but a bunch of movies and TV shows got interrupted. And like I said, we're all committed and united on this, and the powers that be are eventually going to have to, I think, eventually come to the table. And I don't. It's going to be a negotiation. We're not going to get everything that we want. That's the nature of a negotiation. But whatever we decide is fair, hopefully we won't go anything below that. Because, if we don't get a proper deal now, it's never going to happen. And then it's just going to make it harder and harder for us going forward, And just one thing from something that you touched on earlier, like, I don't expect to be making a year's salary because I worked on an episode of a show. You got to book a few. I mean, that's clear, and that's fine. But when the number becomes so great to make a living that it's impossible, that's very discouraging. And now, like the number that working actors like us would need to book to make a living, a real living, where you pay all your bills, pay your rent, pay your mortgage, have money for your kids, maybe a little left over. You'd have to, like I said, you have to do it many, many times over. So I'm not expecting $100,000 because I did a Law and Order episode or whatever. And that's networks. They actually pay pretty well. But it's got to be better than it is now. Because like I said, I was in 5 episodes of the last Power season. And like I said, I need multiple powers a year to make a living, and that's really, really hard.
Yeah, it's I'm optimistic. I hope things get resolved. I just it's just sad to see. I know I'm forgetting this guy's name, actor. But he came out talking about he had to sell his home just because a lot of projects he was booking or about to book got plugged. He can't afford his mortgage anymore. He has to sell his home in LA so he can, keep his savings intact. And, it's sad. Like, you hear these stories of, I know Sydney Sweeney from Euphoria. She's coming out complaining about the pay she's getting from the show. That she wasn't able, with managers, agents, publicist fees, mortgage,
20% right off the top. Not all of us have publicists and lawyers, but if you have a manager and agent, that's 20%. But boom, and you're getting
that's me right now.
And you're getting taxed on 100% of that. You're not getting taxed on 80%. So you're getting taxed on 100, but getting paid 80. So there's nothing to be done about that. That's just part of the biz. That's just the way it is. So that's just another hurdle that we have to overcome.
Yeah. It's just at this point, as long as if anybody who doubts this or treat this like a joke, really, just think about it. Entertainment is just one industry, but it's going to impact every other industry. This is a huge problem, and I'm glad we're doing it now because, one of the things, like you said, streaming is now. You know, I don't really know anybody who has cable TV besides my girlfriend's grandparents. But
Right.
everybody I know got rid of cable. They got, you know, Netflix, you know, all
Only
that good stuff.
grandparents have cable now.
Yeah, and even then they like, hey, you know, it's almost $300 a month. What's the name of that app you use?
For what? You don't even watch it. You're not even watching any of these channels.
No.
My parents have 300 channels. I watch none of them.
Oh,
You know,
they watch Judge Mathis though.
My father watches Columbo.
Old really?
Columbo episodes, yeah, from the 70s.
Oh yeah, that's way back. I wasn't even a thought back then. Oh wow. Yeah. You know, it's been fun having you on. You know, we could talk all day, but obviously, you know, I know you got, you know,
I actually have to go to work. I have to go to my job now.
That's crazy. You know, I know 3 years ago, you'd be, you know, we could talk as much as we want. No, I'm kidding. I'm in the process of finding a job myself because it's rough out here. But with that being said, you know, what are you looking forward to? You know, like you've been on Power Book, Ghost, and you know, you have your own success going on. What do you see yourself in 5 years? What do you want to achieve? Is there anything on your bucket list you want to get done?
Yeah, I want to make another movie. I'm writing a movie now, and that is my number one goal in the next, hopefully less than 5 years. But yeah, hopefully when we talk in 5 years, that movie will be out on streaming somewhere. Yeah, that is my big goal, because I think one of the things I've learned from this as well is that, and a lot of actors, and you hear a lot of people say the same thing, like, this can only be one part of your life. This can't be the be all end all of your life. This can't be the only thing that you're focused on. And you need to be able to take, you know, get happiness out of, excuse me, I gotta hit that. You need to be able to take comfort and happiness out of your own projects and things that make you happy, other than, you know, the 2 scenes on the TV show that you got. So just being creative, the act of creativity, and continuing to do that, and doing the things that I want to do, and let the chips fall where they may. I mean, that's really what I want to do, especially as I get older, when you hear the clock is ticking for those of us who are, you know, on the other side of youth. You know, you just want to do the things that make you happy.
Right.
And that's the direction that I want to go in the next 5 years. I want to make a movie. I want to get back on stage. I want to do theater, and hopefully, you know, I'll book some TV and film stuff too, you know, but as long as I'm creating and I'm happy with my growth as a creative person, then I think that's all I can ask for.
Yeah. You got, you know, you got to make it a recurring role on like, actually, you know, yo, the strike is over. Let's go. I need to be in every episode. You got to do that.
Well, I'm definitely, listen, I'm a very fortunate person. I'm a minor player in a major machine, and I'm very happy to be that minor player. And, you know, I got some good footage out of it. Met some great people. You know, when the strike is over, hopefully it'll lead to something else. But for that job, as I said, it's been wonderful, and I'm eternally grateful. A great bunch of people in front of a behind camera there, and I'm not just saying that because I've literally said that to anybody who asks me about it. It's like, it's a wonderful place to work.
Yeah, I ain't say nothing. You know, I agree. You know, I'm glad for you. You know, like I said, it's always nice to meet people in the industry. Well, I've known you for a while, but it's always good to talk to people who have a positive mindset on things. You know, especially with the craziness in the world.
Listen. This industry is too hard to not try to. It's so hard to not be positive. And I've been rejected so many times. Most actors have. You just like, I try to just do as much as I can and just focus on the positive side of things for me, and not focus on the things that I didn't get, because I've done that. I'll do that if I'm up for something and I don't get it. I'll stew for a couple of days for sure. But you got to let that shit go.
I think we all do. Trust me, I think we all do. And now, you know, it's funny. Now that I'm starting to do the big stuff. It's like, oh man, you know, I could have quit my day job, although I know it's probably not gonna happen anytime soon. But Sarah Finn, if you're listening, I'm coming for that Marvel stuff. I'm coming, so you know, keep an eye out for me. I'm kidding. But where can people find you? Do you have anything coming up? Any final
no, I
message
mean
you want
Power. This next season of Power will air, I think, probably early next year. We aired, I think, premiered in March this year. So I probably, with everything pushed back, it probably won't be until March. You can catch me on the Power. You can catch me on that. The Incoherence is streaming on Amazon Prime. If you'd like to check that out, with Percy Brown, Incoherent superfan.
That's right.
Yeah, and if you're in Manhattan and you want a nice cocktail and you want to maybe see some interesting singer or an interesting film, come on down to 5 and 9. It's right in the Woolworth building across from City Hall. I'm there every night.
They're hiring?
What's that?
They're hiring?
I'll let you know. We're tight too, Beth. We got a lean mean machine down there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Hey, everybody looking for work.
I know.
Jeff, it's been fantastic. Thank you for doing this. I know.
Thanks, Percy.
I gotta say, before we go, getting you on here was like trying to tell Tom Cruise not to do his own stunts. It was rough. No, I'm kidding. It's all fun.
I know. I know. That's my own fault. I think I have a day and then I don't have a day. I'm sorry.
Look, trust me.
It'll be straight next time.
At this point, I get it, with the industry, and you got life. It's all good. It's all communication. We're all trying to, do our best in this society. If you made it this far, thank you for tuning in to the most charismatic man. I am Percy. This is Jeff. Catch him on Power. You can follow him on Instagram. I'll leave all that stuff in the description. Like I always say, a helping hand is a better hand. Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Thanks, Percy. Great to talk to you, man.